Hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm going to say this up front again, that this is not information about the coronavirus. It is a personal vlog. If you are in this video to hear about anything of what you should do, what you should know about the coronavirus, click on out of here. This is not what this video is about. Okay, and but my degrees are in psychology and sociology. I taught college and university. I'm keeping a record of this and what I have seen and what I think. That does not make it what everybody should do or think themselves. And personally, I cannot tell you what to go to find that kind of information. I prefer cdc.gov, and I prefer, as far as news networks, I prefer MSNBC. Their reporting, I trust it. Like I said, this does not mean this is what everybody else should do. It does not mean that. I'm not a healthcare professional or provider or anything along that line. I'm not a voice of authority on this topic. Read the disclaimer in the description box below this video on YouTube. Is that enough of a disclaimer? I had 2 comments on my last one. They both got blocked, deleted. But, yeah. They apparently didn't listen to that part or something. Or they just did and just didn't care. And I said it in a different way, but it had the same kind of meaning. Anyway. I mentioned in the video yesterday how I am, I think I mentioned how I'm getting a little prepared for it. You know, I mentioned it was about panic. Let's see, misinformation I've heard and seen or heard about. You know, so the whole thing of fear of failure. Now, I didn't hear that, not fear of failure, but fear of the unknown. I did not hear that on any social media. That's just what I would think. And then later on I did hear it on the news, in any media or social media, that yeah, you know, and so on and so forth. Okay, anyway, but for me, you know, I sat up that night and last night and watched a lot of different things on YouTube that were by like ABC and ABC News, I think it was. I did it on that one. And then I also, 2 days, added CBS News and NBC. These are what our news, this is what I grew up on. Okay, so yeah, I'm old enough to have just, that was all we had. Me, that is. But yeah, I could say, you know, and there's such a question as, are people going to panic, or people going to, are they being realistic? You know, what I've saw, I really can't give any reference on which one and all that, but what I keep hearing on different ones actually is that, you know, prepare like you would for a hurricane. Now, I grew up on the coast. I've been through hurricanes, lots of them, and preparation for them. I understand. I got it. I know it. Yeah, you want everything you can possibly think of that you might need, and so on and so forth. You know, to eat, to live. And last night I went on an app that I have to order my medications for blood pressure medications, and they often have a problem. I don't know why their app does not work right, or just a problem with it all around. And I went to order it, and there was a little pop-up. I'm not going to give which one. Okay, I'm not going to pinpoint. I've had troubles with so many of them, so many pharmacies. But it had a pop-up that stated that they're having a high volume of refill, whatever it is, people refilling their medications and might not be available. It's kind of scared me, yeah. And then I heard more and more, you know, on TV about that. I hadn't heard that before then. And they said, yeah, so I guess a lot of people had, and they started ordering a lot of medications. I can understand that. But what they're saying, what I'm hearing, is for 2 weeks. You know, so far you hear a lot of people talking about what can you trust? Can you trust them? What we hear, wow, you know, we need to be informed, and we need all the information, not just cherry picked, like I said in that video. We need all of it. We don't need people being told, and some speculate and all this stuff, that they're being told how much to let out, how much information. But some of these, like I've said in that video, I believe, conspiracy theories come out, and people talk. People take one little bit of information and go too far. So don't take any of this information as information and go too far, or go anywhere with it. I don't think I can do any more disclaimers, can I? If I miss something, add it to it. Last night I had this thing about laughing, and this is not a funny topic. And some of you know, even when I'm in a serious topic, I just have this thing going on that I will giggle at least. But that doesn't mean it's funny at all. Where was I? Like I said, this is just a personal video blog. I'm just keeping track of how I'm processing through it. I have been diagnosed with panic disorder many years ago. Afterwards, the doctors put me on medication for diabetes type 2. And after that, I did not have that same kind of reaction. I also had experienced what they pronounce these days, and have for years, agoraphobia. I experienced that twice in my life. I'm 56. I experienced it when I was 28 and 33. So, I would not be the best person to listen to about not panicking. I would say that in some ways, watching all of that, I don't think it's along the same line really, but as far as panic, as I experienced it when I was younger, I didn't, some would say, you panic because there's reason to, or is there reason to, or reason to feel, like they're saying, prepare for 2 weeks at least, or they're saying 2 weeks from what I've heard. But for me, panic was something different. Okay, like I remember one time, I'm going to tell this story, that I was driving down the highway going to university where I attended. I was driving down the highway, and there was a big, we call them diesels, 18-wheelers, whatever you call them. I was in the far right lane. The big diesel was in the middle lane, and next to me, in other words. It kind of a little bit in front, and behind it was something like a truck, I think, just a regular one. And I keep saying, but I'm driving down there, and the next thing I know, here comes a car filled with people coming toward me on the interstate, the highway, interstate. Yeah, think about that for a moment. Life happens in the middle of a video. That young man that delivered my meal, our meals, kept calling me Miss. No. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've been Miss. Very many years. Many years. Anyway, what was I talking about? Let me check. Driving on the interstate, and I was in the far right lane. No exit right there. I'm seeing a car going toward me. In the lane to my left is a big diesel, and behind it is a truck. No room for me to squeeze between to move over. The people coming toward me in a car, an old car, a bunch of people. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Okay, what would I do? Somehow, some way, seriously, somehow, some way, I managed to get myself clear of them. Did manage to squeeze between those two, the diesel and the truck, enough to get away from them and not hitting me head on the interstate. And after that, I quickly, as soon as I could, got off of the interstate. I remember I wound up at some place that sold boats or something, and I was just sitting there and breathing really heavy because it scared me so bad. Anyway, I called my mom, and I told her what happened, and she said, well, see there, you don't panic so bad anyway. It's just not the same kind of... She said I managed to keep my calm enough to save my life. Well, there is anyway, let's move on from that. But as far as this is concerned, I don't think that I'm panicking. I just went and got myself something to eat, but I did wipe my hands, and I do have, with moist wipes, I can't deal with those other ones, the antibacterial ones. that have a lot on them, like you see in stores when you walk through the door to wipe down your shopping cart. They're too strong for me, that my hands will break out. Can't handle the alcohol. But I did do that, and I do feel a little like, we don't know enough now. I don't know enough now. I don't know if they're putting out information right now that makes us know enough. But, yeah, I don't. By the way, today's leap year day. And, but I am stocking up. I should have been stocked up. Willie should have. I mentioned that, I think. But you're stocking up on food product. He's going to go to Costco later on today, I think. He says sometime when he feels like it. Buy, things like canned foods, canned foods, boxed, whatever he's going to buy. I had just been the other day to buy other kinds of products. And then I ordered a whole bunch of groceries to be delivered. Like perishables and some different little bitty stuff. It was $83, I think. It's going to be delivered later today. And, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Today I went to another store and bought meat. Well, tomorrow will be 3 weeks when I fell and hurt my knee. So I haven't had a knee injury. Walking around too much is not a good thing for me. So things got behind. I'm the homemaker, and yeah, it's just I was out of stock on a lot of stuff. So it's been kind of an expensive little thing. But like I said, I was all that. Yeah. And also, I have been feeling like this way. I told him I mentioned this, I think, in the other video. I really don't want him going there. He's older than I, and he's had problems before with part of his lung, and he's insisting that he goes. He's a grown man, but I would prefer if he didn't, because it's always very busy, and we can have it delivered. Okay, now that's not just because it's delivered doesn't make that it's safer. We don't know. Okay, we just don't know. If they're within so many feet, this okay, it's a little later in the day. It was 75 degrees then, it's 76 now. Beautiful day. I thought about it. I'm going to put this on a different channel. I made one yesterday for it, right after I made that one on the original channel for topics like narcissistic, toxic people, whatever you want to call them. And anyway, I'm going to put this one on the one that I used to do a lot more, like vlogs. I need to go through that channel and make some of my old videos public. I have a bunch of them. I noticed that yesterday that I had put on private and make them public. But anyway, I don't know where I was. I'm not going to go back and check. But yeah, I just watched that. Today, like I said, is February 29th. Right now it's 2:30 p.m. Central Time, USA, of course. But anyway, not of course, but anyway, I watched that, what do you call them? When all these people talked and everything about this coronavirus and stuff like that, and really wasn't anything new. I think some of them were trying to clarify, the whole thing about hoax and stuff, and being a hoax from the Democrats. I don't like hearing stuff like that. That is not, I cannot see that it's true. But then they try to explain it, and yeah, I just really annoys me when things are people try to make things, politicize things like this. This is not that. And like I was talking in that video that I made on that other channel, I'm gonna try to link it. I might not. It just depends on how it lets me. With all the changes on YouTube, I can do it easily from my phone, which is where I use what camera I use, and upload it and all that. We'll see how it works. But anyway, I'm waiting on the groceries to be delivered. Well, it's around 30 minutes to an hour. Between 3 and 4 is what it's supposed to be. It's 2:31 right now. And then he's supposed to go to Costco. I don't know if he's going to plan on going today. I think he needs to remember. I don't think they're open tomorrow on Sunday. I don't know. I could be wrong. I haven't checked. I remember there was some problem. He tried something like that before, and he waited too late. Maybe it was just too late in the day. But yeah, I still believe in stocking up. You know, I ordered another one of my medications for that one's for diabetes. I did find last night some that were in my desk. I thought they were in there, and they have expired quite a long while ago, years ago. But I think one of them may have been expired last month for the blood pressure. I mean, last year, the blood pressure medication, and that's I kept them. I don't know why they had given me the wrong one. Made me pay for it. Not the same place, a different. Like I said, I've had trouble with pharmacies, not just one chain, and so I kept them. They made me pay for them anyway, and I kept them in case, emergency. I don't know what an emergency would be, but it was something was wrong with it. Wasn't the right brand or right manufacturer, and I'm very highly sensitive, so I need the right manufacturer. We've found that out over many, many years. I've been taking them since I was in my 20s. I'm 56. So, yeah. And then there was some for the diabetes, too, and that was a different brand, too. See, I don't even think those two were from the same pharmacy, even. So, not the one I use now, and not the same of each other. Pharmacy's messing up. Not a good thing. I've said this time and time again. Not a good thing. I don't think it's just me. Hey, it just turned to 77 degrees. Yeah, I'm not used to that. But last time they messed up. I get my medications for 30 days supply. I have 3 main medications that I always get. 30 days supply. They have a pop-up states that. They've been doing it for years, or for however long. They know this. They know my voice. They know who I am. Really. There was such a bad situation, and that I had to call their corporate office one time before from a different location, and they know I have it on video. I did that. I was in the drive-thru. I put it on video during the times I wasn't talking to the corporate office. So they try not to mess with me. So then tell me, then I get 3 medications a month for 30 days supply each, 3 different medications. Why for the past few months has it been messed up? Really? Okay, messed up in a variety of ways. So anyway, I ordered another one, so that makes 2 that they're going to pick up and from there and deliver. Last time the post office box said they couldn't deliver it in my mailbox for some reason, and it took a while for them to figure this out, find out what happened. They sent them back to the pharmacy. Well, the pharmacy didn't get them back, and that one was for cholesterol. I had to go and pick it up. That was the 3rd time in a row for different reasons. I had to actually go to pick it up. I paid for a service where they deliver it to my home. Okay. But they gave me an in-store credit kind of thing. Big woo. I didn't want to have to go there, especially since I have this knee injury, and it's not that easy for me to walk. I'm afraid I might fall. I wear knee pads and I carry a cane, but still, you never know. And that's how my injury happened. I never knew. One of those, you would never think that would happen, and it did. So, anyway. That's one of the things I'm trying to get prepared for, in case, you never know. What was it called? Press conference, press meeting, whatever it was very confusing, and like I said, it just seemed like the same thing, but they were trying to clear up stuff, but did they really? But basically the gist I got from it, and I could be wrong, but all this I could be wrong, but I was to go ahead and stock up for a couple of weeks. Other people you hear are just people like me. I'm not a reporter. They're not a reporter. I'm not an expert on the topic at all. They're basically some people, are getting like, I'm going to stock up. Well, I think anybody should be stocked up. But see, I come from living on the coast with a lot of hurricanes. I would, maybe think that way. I can't say everybody. I cannot say everybody who does. Every year, every season, whatever, how many hurricanes are going there, I still know people who live there, and they still won't leave when they say evacuate. Mandatory evacuation, even, they will not leave. They will not stock up if they stay. They just, I don't know what gets into some people, seriously. So if indeed what we're being told is stock up, I'm stocking up on groceries and that kind of thing, medications, things that you need. I've had already, before any of this, last year I think it was, I stocked up on, things like you get in a tube, different kind of medications like itch relief or pain relief or whatever relief it is, even a cold sore relief, whatever they were. I'm stocked up on those. Even I think cough vapor, some tablets that you take or something, and Vapo Rub, I think it is, and lozenges. I think it's a good idea to be stocked up. Like I said in another video, I just didn't. I had used to do it. Used to do the couponing thing when it was a real thing, a real big thing, because the extreme couponing. I don't even know if that's still on, that show. That was when I first started my channel. That's why I was mentioning in another video. That's how I got started. I was watching it on TV or Netflix or something. I wondered if YouTube had any of it, and I looked on YouTube, and next thing I know, I'm saying, hey, I can do videos. That was 5.5 years on my original channel. 5.5 years ago. So I started doing that. But, it was shopping stuff. But yeah, I was doing couponing back then, and I was stocked up. And now, all these years later, no, just kind of went away, that kind of thought. But I do have an experience when I was younger, in the 90s. It was I think 1995, I think it was. And Adam was working in California. We were still married then, and before our divorce. And he moved to California. No, he didn't move to California. He was working there. He was flying back and forth for whatever training and stuff. I don't think he was working there yet. Yeah, he wasn't working there yet, but he was traveling back and forth to San Jose for training and stuff. And so I stayed with one of my sisters on her property. And for whatever reason, it was one day, and I had the same thing happen, I think, a year later with a boyfriend, not a year later, when it wasn't a year later, a few years later after we separated and all that. And the boyfriend, the same thing happened. But I was with one of my sisters anyway. Okay. And I guess I was looking, I was living there, and I was looking for something to cook. And I noticed the expiration date on one of the cans was expired. And she had a big thing, practically like the size of a bookshelf, and filled with, canned stuff. What do you call those things? Like a cupboard or whatever. And filled with them. And I went through them, and most of them had expired. Most of her things. So when I was younger, I worked in a store, and it was a little store. And I remember somebody came in, and the woman checked things out and said that we needed, it wasn't the health department, but it was just, I think, the girlfriend of the guy that owned it, and she had actually been my teacher in high school, art teacher. She had come in, and she told him, yeah, we need to go through all of our stuff and check the expiration date. And I worked in a place right after that, and that was something that we had to do too. So it used to be my habit, and I don't know why, that I don't think I really ever got out of the habit. But when I saw that in my sisters, I was just like, whoa, who does that? Really, who does that? Because she had a problem with all that kind of stuff, when you don't. But no. Anyway, I mentioned I went through mine. I'm going to organize it, make sure it's good. And I cleaned out a cabinet that just had some paper stuff, threw it away today. A whole bunch of it. And so I have another room for just like the snacks kind of thing, or nuts and pecans, almonds. Let's see, what else do I have? I don't have any pecans. I have corn nuts, stuff like that. Having that one, and just making room. I have another one I need to make room for, and start going back through that of stocking up stuff. Cans, some of them I have that expire in 2023, and this is 2020. So, they don't have to be eaten right now. They're not going to go away. The ones that have dates, whatever it is, I'm not going to, unless they've already expired. One of the things one place I had delivery stuff, they were bringing stuff to me, like deviled eggs were expiring that day. no, that's not what you do. That's not what I would do. And they were giving me fruits and stuff that even an onion had an onion had a worm in it, or something had gotten inside of it. It was gross. They just, and they had really, I don't like to say this, but they weren't people who've been, know how to buy groceries a lot. Okay, the people that had working there, in other words, were very young. I mean, talking teenagers. I don't think of teenagers as people who have shopped a lot. I just don't. I could be wrong. Not trying to generalize, not trying to say that something's wrong with them, but people, I loved it when there was a woman who was my age. She was doing the shopping. Nothing was wrong with any of the products. There was a man working there around my age. He was doing it. Nothing wrong with the products. All of a sudden, they started having products when those two people, I don't know what happened to them. Anyway, if I'm going to have my groceries purchased by somebody else and delivered, and I'm going to pay the fee for a delivery fee, and I'm going to pay a tip and whatever, I want somebody who's experienced. I want somebody who knows what to look for and what not to, and what to report. Hey, you got food out here that has, it's growing fuzz. I've reported that before. You bet I have. Oh my goodness. So, and I don't work for them. But anyway, see, this is what I'm saying. This is just a vlog. I'm just keeping, I'm a sociologist. My master's is in sociology, like I said at the beginning. And this is what I do. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to have more to talk about, especially one in particular. Anyway, I'm going to try to write down notes. I have some notes, and that way I can be more together. Doesn't happen that often because usually I'm driving. Somebody asked me the other day about my video. They said they, understood the video, but why was I filming driving? Well, okay, let's look at that right. I'm filming while driving. I'm not filming driving. Okay? I thought it was an interesting question because she made it clear that she thought that I was filming a drive. And she didn't understand why I was filming a drive. I was filming while driving. Okay. There's a difference. Yes, indeed. And then I had another comment. This was on the other channel, like I said, the main channel for this kind of topic. Anything that deals with toxic people. And the other comment was, how did it go? Oh, I had done a background, because I did it inside the house, and I had a background. That was just PowerPoint things, and I said at the beginning of the video, I'm pretty sure that was the one, I said, I usually do, don't mind the background, okay? It's, just explained it. And the woman's, and I put something, the way the backgrounds work, I have to type in something there, so I would type things like, read the disclaimer below this video on YouTube, and, put a little title of that one, like narcissistic abuse or whatever. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Whatever it was. Some of them was supposed to be funny. And she just said, nice read. And, something along that line, reading it. And it wasn't about being something to be read. But, anyway, maybe she didn't mean it to be mean, or maybe she meant it to be funny, but it didn't seem like it. The way she wrote it did not seem like it. But anyway, the one that I really want to talk about is something, it comes from a classic short story that I read as an undergraduate. And it was on this kind of thing, a futuristic kind of thing. I do not know the title. I don't know the author. I don't even remember much of the whole story. I could probably get the whole story wrong. But it was kind of like what we may go through. And what made me think of that. It's not the same kind of situation. It made me think of that. I've tried searching, online. I've done it before, tried to search for it, couldn't find it. So if anybody, when I do talk about it, if anybody knows who it is and what it was, or have any idea, let me know. Anyway, I'll get to that one though. I'm going to wrap this one up, and my camera might get hot even though I'm kind of in the shade here. But anyway, I'll wrap this video up, and I'm going to keep doing these on this channel. As far as I know, if I can. Just giving little updates. Okay, talk to y'all in another video. And if you have an experience, what do you think? Don't attack me. Like I had said earlier, somebody did. 2 people did. But that was actually on that original channel. The original channel for toxic people. And it was basically attacks on me block delete. I guess they get their jollies. You know, they just, you know, some people say, oh, I've said before that some people will say that they're just haters when they do certain things, but sometimes they're not. But these were, I could see, these were those types of trolls. And especially when you can't spell out the word Y-O-U. It's only 2 extra letters. Being so lazy. And that wasn't the only word. But anyway, I remember one of my students did something that on a paper, and the word was, and just put T, the letter T, and didn't type the rest of the word out. You know, it was a long time ago, but not too long ago. But yeah, type it out. Type it out. Stop being so lazy. That's my view. You have one? Any of this? Leave it below. Talk to you on another video. Bye.